and welcome back to more Cake. Yes ma'am, badass edible art. I'm your girl Jelena, and I'm going to show you guys 3 ways on how to make edible roses. Valentine's is coming up. You know you got some orders to do. You know you got some custom cakes to create, and these are perfect for any custom treats, cakes, cupcakes, and all the like. We're going to start off with a buttercream rose, a fondant rose, and then move towards a technical wafer paper rose. All simple, easy steps to create them. Let's get started. What we're going to need for our first rose is our piping nail, a piping bag with your preferred colored buttercream, and the 104 piping tip, as well as some parchment squares. Let's get started. Taking some buttercream, putting on the bottom of my parchment paper, just so it can adhere to the piping nail. Okay? The piping nail just makes it easier for you to rotate to put your flowers petals on. Using my piping tip, making sure the fatter side is at the bottom and the thinner side is at the top, I'm going to first go ahead and make a cone shape with it. And now you want to make sure your cone shape is about less than ½ of an inch tall. And now I'm going to make 3 petals. Remember, your fatter side of the piping tip down and the thinner part on the top. As I pipe each petal, I want to make sure I overlap the next petal. So I'm going to make 1. I'm overlapping the previous 1, 2, 3. And I want to continue this, making sure that I overlap the previous petal every time. I like to do odd numbers, so that was 3 and now I did 5, and I'm going to do 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can keep going if you like. I'm good. I'm going to set this down to the side and do another one. Creating my cone in the center to start off. Okay. And now making my 3 first petals. 1, making sure I go behind the first one, I'm overlapping it. 2, going behind the second one, overlapping it. 3, and that's 3, so I liked odd numbers. I'm going to now do 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now I'm going to do 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, hello. The light is blinding. Hi. Didn't expect seeing you here so soon. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my Patreons out there. I really appreciate all of you for supporting me for as long as you have, and for all the future ones who are going to continue to support me. If you want to receive new tutorials, 1 to 2 a month, brand new ones, they're extravagant and sometimes they're a bit simple, like this one here, or oh wait, hold on, like that one there, or maybe this one here. Go ahead and sign up for my Patreon. The link is down in the description below. To make a fondant rose, I have some water for adhesive, I have a rolling pin, a paintbrush to add onto the water, a couple of circle colors in different sizes, and I have some red fondant. You can make your rose any color you want. I have 7 larger circles, and then I have 8 smaller circles. So I'll make a center for my rose using a little bit of the fondant, and the shape I'm going to create is going to be a cone shape. Rolling the fondant in my hand and then slowly but surely creating that cone shape I'm looking for, just like this. You can either do this with your hand or you can do it with a rolling pin. It just depends on how detailed you want it. I'm actually going to use this foam mat here you can purchase at any craft store, and my rolling pin to give my petals a little more thinness and some shape. Putting my petal on the board, I'm going to slowly but surely just go in the center, thinning it out. And now make sure I get those edges. So your petals should start looking like this. And I like the thinner side to be the upside of the petal and the thicker side to be the bottom of the petal. I'll do that a couple more times to the other ones. Starting with the smaller petals first and having my center here, I'm going to add water on the thicker part of my petals. Remember I said I wanted the thicker part to be the bottom and the thinner part to be the top of the petal. You don't want to add too much water or it's just going to be a wet mess. So I want to start with 3 petals first. Taking the first petal, I'm going to wrap it around. Okay. In the shape of the cone. So that's what it should look like. And now I'm going to take the next 2 petals and do the same thing, wrapping it around. And before I close out the current petal, I'm going to put in the next petal. So they don't overlap, they underlap. And then I'm just going to roll that on. And again, before I close out the current petal, I'm going to grab the next one. So now I'm dipping in to the next 5 small ones. And I'm just rolling them in one at a time. And I'm going to take the next one. Make sure I keep it nice and tight. Now I could stop here if I wanted to, but I'm going to keep going. You can stop at any point because again, your rose can be as big or as small as you want it to be. So now I'm about to get into the larger petals. It's going to be the same thing. I want to add the water at the bottom of all the larger petals. Not overlap, but underlap. And you're going to notice my flower getting more wider and blooming even more. My final petal. And there you go, and you have a rose. Now if I wanted to make this bigger, I would have gotten maybe even a larger circle, a 3rd circle, to make it even bloom and more wider. And you can go and go and go and make it as big as you want. And this is perfect for a cake or a cupcake. All right, now we're gonna create a wafer paper flower. Super simple to make. All you're gonna need is some water for adhesive, a paintbrush to apply the water, some decorative scissors, circle cutters. This is a 2.5 inch and this is a 1.5 inch, and some wafer paper. And you're gonna need some regular scissors. Let's get started. You wanna first cut out your smaller circles and your larger circles. You don't have to use just 2 sizes. You can get bigger and bigger and bigger if you wanted to. I'm just gonna use these 2 size circles here. Now what I wanna make sure is first I cut a slit straight up the middle, going less than halfway up. Using my regular scissors, so you see the slit. Okay, and then I want to make sure I get the top of the circle. So if the slit is down here, this is the top, and I'm going to cut with my decorative scissors. So this is what my petal basically looks like. A slit at the bottom and some ruffles at the top. I want to do that to all of my circles. Now for each petal, what you want to do is put some water on a paintbrush And on one side of that slit, I'm going to add the water, and we're cupping our paper to give it more shape. So when you bring the two slits, overlap them like so, it will now make your flat paper rounded. So you have a petal. You want to do this to all of your circles. Now using some leftover wafer paper, I'm going to cut a straight slit that's less than 1/2 inch in thickness. I'm going to add water to it. Now a little bit of water goes a long way, and I'm not going to add water to the entire thing. And where I'm adding the water is not the entire slit, but on the bottom half. Okay? And now I'm going to start rolling this, making sure I'm keeping my paper nice and even. Just gently rolling it. Making sure that the part with the water on it is adhering to each other. And then going on adding more water once I get to the part that doesn't have any. Now what I've just created, the rosebud for the center of our rose. Well, the bud for the center of our rose. Okay? I have all of my smaller circles cupped and cut together. Where I want to add the water to get it started is I want to add it at the bottom and on the right side. If your petal is facing you, this is the right side of the petal. And wafer paper has texture. It's a smooth texture on the back, and then on the other side it has a rough texture. I like the rough texture to be what you actually see with the flowers. So I have water on one. I'm going to do this 2 other times in the center and again on the left side of the petal. A little bit of water goes a long way with wafer paper. You don't want to put too much. You don't want it to dissolve. Now holding my bud, I'm going to take my first petal, like so. And all I've done was sit my bud in the middle of my first petal. And I'm going to take my next petal. Now we're not overlapping, we're underlapping. So this is going to be tucked under. And before I roll, I'm going to add my next one. And now I'm going to just roll these together real nice and tight, making sure that wherever I put the water, it's all adhering to each other. Now we're going to keep going. I like to do odd numbers, so I just did 3. Now I'm going to do 5. Adding the water in the same spot for every single one of them. Doing the same thing. Underlapping. Rolling, so I have 3. This is 4. This is 5. So this is a flower that hasn't bloomed. So now we wanted to give it some bloom. I have 7 small petals and I have my unbloomed rose that started. Now I'm going to only add the water at the bottom part and not on the sides. Taking the first one, I'm going to make sure it's only adhered at the bottom. Taking the second one, again, remember we're tucking under, not over. I just grab 2 and I'm just continuing to tuck under. All of them have water added to it. Basically you're creating this spiral look with all your petals. And just continually tucking in. And now it's opening up even more. And we have a very small rose. Now if I wanted to end it here, I would make sure I take my last petal, add water on it, and make sure I adhere it so it closes out. And I can stop right here. If you wish to use the larger petals, you go ahead and do so, and you'll just add them the same exact way, and your flower will just be bigger. You can, again, make your rose any size you want to make it. To give it some color, you can airbrush it, or you can also petal dust it. If you enjoyed this tutorial and all the other ones I got going on in this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification so that way you can be notified every time I create a tutorial, and also make sure you hit the like button so I know you liked it. And a little song and dance comes with every tutorial. Thanks so much for joining. Follow me on Instagram, yes_ma'am. Yes. Follow me on Instagram, yes_ma'am_sweets. I'll check you guys out later. Deuce. Tag me on your Instagram post @_, nope, a brand new one just like this. I keep it simple and cute here. You know your girl. I don't know what I'm saying. No, I'm not gonna say that. You hit the bell at the bottom down there also as well. Make sure you hit